Okay, what the hell just happened? So, this is my Special Forces Season 2, Episode 2 review. And it starts off with everyone waking up around 6 o'clock in the morning for the new day. and they talk about the fire, and Angela kind of makes fun of Brian Austin Green for, he's trying to make fun of her for saying that if the fire gets too big, you need to shut it off. And he takes her literally, as in she thinks there's an on off switch. And she's like, "What do you think the dirt is there for?" So I do like that she's putting Brian in his place, that he can't say stupid shit around her. Because so far, all he's said to her that we've seen has been mind bogglingly stupid. So, he was always my favorite on 90210. This is very disappointing. But anyway, so the DS is going through the recruits, and they decide to call in, well, not call in, but call up Tara, because they want to make her the duty recruit, because she's the weakest, she's having a lot of issues, and that they decide this will make or break her, this will help her in her decision. And so they tell her, and then she has a hard time expressing herself. And because of her voice and the way she expresses herself, she's being made fun of, which this brings back memories of high school. This is the part of the show I'm not a fan of. This high school mentality of let's pick someone to make fun of so we can laugh and feel better about ourselves. But anyway, and Angela is having issues because her knees hurt. So they run out to the car, and we do not see them in the yard being talked to by the staff. We just see them in the cars. So they are going to their next challenge, which is submerging themselves in ice water. So the absolute worst version of the polar plunge. So they start with Tara, and she fails. I mean, everybody's able to get in the water, submerge themselves, and all that. But some are able to remember the mnemonic, some are not. And now I know what Muppet stands for, because Billy used that a lot last season. So now I know what it stands for. Okay. Um so Angela at first didn't know what a mnemonic was, which how the hell do you not know that? I assume she went to school. Uh we learned about mnemonics. I don't know if it was still in elementary school or junior high. So, yeah, I okay, maybe she's just never heard the word, but I guess she figured it out once they, explained what it was by going through the mnemonics they're supposed to learn. I'm really surprised that they didn't show any of the any of the recruits who've seen last season go, so that's what Billy was calling all those recruits last season. But that didn't happen. Or at least they didn't show it. So they each have to go in the ice. Now, why in the hell is Angela always last? I mean, why? It's like they're setting her up or something. Maybe that's it. Because they obviously were setting Tara up for a Nastya Liukin moment. Because as they were running, which, as an aside, South Island is gorgeous. But as they're running down the side of the mountain, Tara is having all sorts of issues, and the recruits are trying to help her. And then the staff asks Tyler to carry her pack. So I half expected after the exercise was done, they went their back to their tent, that Tyler was going to be like, what the hell? You're still here, even though I had to carry mine and your pack. How is that fair? But if he did say anything, they didn't show it, so he probably didn't say anything because these shows are all about drama. So I'm going to say he didn't do that. I do know he watched last season, so maybe he realized that, oh, they're doing this to try to cause trouble, so I'm not going to play that game. And that's possible too. So, like I said, Angela's having a tough time with her knees. She even said that she's hurt to the staff while she's running, and they show absolutely zero sympathy. She'll only be able to find sympathy in the dictionary. So, which she wasn't happy about that, which I don't blame her. But at the same time, I'm surprised that staff didn't say, so do you want to quit? They didn't say anything. They just told her to keep running. Which, they're far more hardcore this season than they were the first season. I guess they figured that most, if not all, the recruits had a chance to watch the first season, even if they didn't watch SAS Who Dares Wins. So they know the tone of the show, so they can be more hardcore now because the recruit should already know what they're getting themselves into. So, first off, I appreciate that Des said he's afraid of water. Angela said she doesn't like water. And I remember, I think it was on Survivor, somebody, a black man it was, referred to water as the black man's kryptonite. I do not understand why. I mean, I could understand if they don't know how to swim. That would make sense. From what Des said, he doesn't. So that would make sense that he's afraid of water. They didn't say anything for Angela. She just said that she doesn't like water. She didn't say that she couldn't swim. So yeah, I can see why Des would be a little iffy about water. But luckily this one he could reach the bottom. Or at least it seemed like it. It didn't look like they were treading water. So, so I did appreciate that Des was able to overcome that fear. So they all get back to Angela was able to overcome her fear, her dislike anyway. Didn't do a very good job with the mnemonic. Actually, very few people did a good job with the mnemonic. Even though beforehand they were perfectly fine. Once they got into the water, the brain totally froze, along with the rest of them. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, I could do that. I've never done the polar plunge because even though I don't mind the cold, I live in north central Wisconsin, so I better not be minding the cold. But at the same time, I'm not going to go out of my way to do a polar plunge. But I'd like to think that I've been in freezing weather, 20 below weather. I my brain was working just fine. So, but cold and wet, I don't know. I really don't know if I could handle that. Anyway, I didn't realize at first I thought they were going to ask the same questions that Foxy asked Rudy. But no, then we see a flashback of them giving the recruits mnemonics. Okay? So, like I said, that very, very few people passed. And, so Tara's job was apparently to help the recruits get dressed as, the duty recruit. And most people were like, yeah, we don't need you. And so Billy didn't help by saying that, oh, nobody wants you, huh? Ugh. That's, I realize that that's a part of the military, but that's a part that bugs the hell out of me. That was so not necessary. I mean, I can understand you calling people who fail spectacularly a Muppet. Okay, fine. I get that. But seriously, mocking them for, not people wanting her to stay away from them? And I don't know if she has a trach, but when they showed her changing out of her wet clothes and she was having a doctor help her, I honestly thought that they were going to medically withdraw her. But it was just someone helping her get dressed. And, but they were talking about hypothermia and frostbite, so I really thought that she was going to be medically evacuated. So, but there seemed to be a hollow spot, a black spot in her throat. Now, I don't know if that was just the camera or shadows or whatever, but it would make more sense that her voice is the way it is if she had a trach. And most of the time, she's wearing clothing that covers this part of her neck. So we don't necessarily have to see that she's wearing a trach. But I couldn't find anything. So maybe it's just a very smoky induced voice. That she smokes a lot. So that's why her voice is like that. But anyway. So she's not very much liked. Angela doesn't seem to be much liked amongst the recruits because she was accusing people, I don't know if it was the staff or other recruits, of giving her attitude. And I think it was Jack who asked who was giving her attitude. Because as far as the staff is concerned, well, yeah, did you watch the first season? Or did you watch any military movie ever? I mean, you knew what you were signing up for. Come on. And, she's acting tough and, like I don't need anyone and, I'm protective of myself because I'm a DC girl. And then she gets called in and she mentions that her knees hurt. And and she again goes off about I'm from DC, I'm always protective of myself, I always defend myself, I want to lash out before, anyone gets a chance to attack me, blah, 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 blah. And Jovan is like, yeah, I'm from DC too. I don't act like this. Which I think that actually, startled her back into, not having attitude, because suddenly she couldn't use that as an excuse. I do not doubt that this is a way to protect herself. I don't doubt that. But suddenly she couldn't say that, she's from DC and that's how she acts and blah, blah, blah. She had to face why she's putting on this front. Because suddenly she was confronted with someone who has a similar background to her, but who isn't acting like her. So, so I thought, okay, she's going to have a second win. She's going to be fine. And so then it's time to go to the cars again for the next challenge. And Tara is supposed to be leading everyone, and it's like, yeah, you're last and you're supposed to be leading everybody. What's going on here? So, and she's having problems. I mean, she's obviously having issues. So they get to the next challenge, and actually no, yeah, it's a second challenge, and she just up and up quits. She's like, you know what? This isn't fair. This pack is a monster on me, and it's like, again, do you not know how the military works? The reason it was so controversial for women to be in the military was because, they had height requirements, they had strength requirements. Actually, no, they had basically height and weight requirements. And the reason they had those requirements is because of things like that. You need to carry a certain weight with you. So I get what she's saying, that it's not proportional, because people like Des and Tyler, obviously they're going to, and Robert, Bodie, well, any of the athletes have an advantage because they're big people. But Erin isn't a tall girl. So, but she has no problem. But again, she's an athlete. So, Tara up and up quits. She has a complete meltdown. She's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I cannot do this anymore. My back hurts. I just can't carry this, and I'm not going to mock her for it, because I think she said, I think it's a 100-pound pack, which that doesn't make sense. But I thought she said 100, but I'm pretty sure it's like 30. Now, if I had to carry that on my thighs, I'd be fine. I don't know if I'd be able to carry that on my back. I actually had as a tangent, I actually had a college roommate, a suite mate, who was exactly 100 pounds, I think. And I had no problem holding her in my lap. So that's why I'm saying my thighs are fine. I could probably carry it on my thighs. Anyway, so she quit, and then everybody got paired up. The first pairing was Des and Robert. Now, on paper, you would think that it would be Des. Number one, he's younger, and he's a freaking wide receiver. So you'd expect that Des would be the one to triumph in this. However, even though they both had issues getting their legs under them. Des is afraid of heights. Robert seemed to be totally cool with it. Which I find it amusing that Des, now you can see he's a big guy later when he's standing next to Angela. You can see he's a big guy. But this is an NBA player, so of course he's not going to look that big. So, Des doesn't win, so he doesn't pass, he fails. And they keep coming up with new ways of saying you suck. You failed. It's like, ah. So, everybody manages to get down. Savannah, I was wondering who was the one who was projectile vomiting. It was Savannah. She, now, before I get to Savannah, pretty much everybody who I expected to do well, like Des, like Aaron, they had issues. I like Aaron. I have a healthy fear of heights. Actually, it's more falling, which I think that's basically why everyone has a fear of heights. The falling part, the hurting oneself when you get to the bottom. But anyway, so up until Savannah and Bodhi, nobody that you expected to win won. Or at least I didn't. So, Savannah's having all sorts of issues. Bodhi, he's like, I'm known as a risk taker, but you have to take risks to, get to where I was. It's like you were a freaking downhiller. I mean, before freestyle started, you guys were the crazy people. Then you had people like Gus Kenworthy and doing the freestyle. And the ante was upped in the crazy. But you're a downhiller. You're going down the mountain 60, 70 miles per hour. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm sorry. But he was so sweet. He was like, it's not dangerous, it's just scary. And so he's trying to help Savannah because it's the first time you see her freaking out. And so then she starts projectile vomiting. And Foxy's having way too much fun with this. But, so Bodhi has no problem whatsoever winning this because Savannah is just a mess. And they just kept showing her vomiting. I mean, why? You didn't have to keep doing that. You could have, shown something else or, I don't know. I mean, gee, Bodhi won already. You don't have to concentrate on that. Yeah. I was actually impressed with myself that I didn't see the vomiting and want to vomit myself. This is why I cannot watch Witches of Eastwick. The vomit scene, yeah. My gag reflex went off big time. Normally it's just the smell of vomit or the sound of the retching that gets me going. So yeah, I'm quite impressed that I saw the vomiting and I didn't want to vomit myself. Very impressed with myself. So then it came down to Angela, and she needed a partner because, Tara just left in a huff because she felt slighted because she had to carry something that was super heavy, which, again, what did you think you were signing up for? So, Billy asks, okay, of the losers, who wants another chance? So he lets Des have his other chance. And so Des is happily, excitedly doing this. But apparently, because he was left literally dangling while they were trying to convince Angela to do the task, that if she doesn't do it, she's quitting. So she decides to quit because she's just in tears. She just cannot do it, which disappointed me because I really thought after that kind of pep talk with the staff and specifically Jovan, that I thought that, okay, she was going to overcome her fears and, let herself be vulnerable. And oh boy, did she let herself be vulnerable, because she just started crying. Not what I was expecting, but understandable. So, because he was left dangling, he was then finally able to leave, to go down, and it seems like because there wasn't that basically a counterweight, he had all the pressure from the rope on him. So it was cutting into his stomach. And so he got super pissed, which that's understandable that he would be pissed, but it's not the staff's fault. I mean, they were trying to get Angela to go on. I mean, if anything, they should have waited. Des should have waited till Angela went down first, and then he would go, because this is her first time. Why should he be waiting on her? So I get why Des was upset, but he just exploded, and he just ran off, and he ripped his armband off, says, "I'm quitting, I'm out." And then later on, and all the recruits are like, "What just happened?" I mean, yeah, it hurts, but Jesus Christ, what the hell? So, so then Des comes back, and he's waiting for the staff, and as he's waiting for them, it looks like he's in the medical tent. As he's waiting for staff, he's dropping F-bombs left and right. At least I assume they were F-bombs, because he was just being bleeped out left and right. And he explains that actually this was the reason he decided to do this, was to try to get a hold of his emotions, because he knows that he has anger issues. What the hell is it with NFL wide receivers with anger issues? Because Danny had issues last season. What is up with that? But anyway, I get that Des was hoping for a do-over, because, that was the reason why he wanted to be a part of this, was to rein in his emotions and, get used to this. But at the same time, I get the staff. I mean, they can't risk him quitting on them again because, he got pissed off about something. Because, if this was war, this would be a matter of life and death. You can't have someone going off half-cocked because they just can't handle the emotions. So I get that. And you could see that Des was disappointed but understanding. And I'm sure part of the disappointment is that he mentioned earlier that he was missing his son's birthday. And so he gets kicked out on the day. He kicks himself. Well, he quit and then gets kicked out on the day of his son's birthday. So, yeah, I can see why, he was disappointed. First off, he's disappointed himself for putting himself in that position. And then he's disappointed because it's his son's birthday and he intended to miss it for this very reason, and he just screwed that all up. So, but he made peace with it, and, he left. He seemed fine with it, and everybody's just like, he was the strongest one of everybody here, and yeah, physically he was strong, but emotionally not so much. So, but at least he was able to overcome his fear of water, I guess. I mean, maybe now he'd be willing to at least go into the shallow end of the pool, where he can actually put his feet down and not be submerged. So maybe, that will be helpful instead of just looking at his kids from afar and hoping nobody's drowning. Because he said he looked to see if everything's okay, but the man's afraid of water. What exactly was he planning on doing if something wasn't okay? Get their mother? I don't know. I really don't know what he was planning, but anyway, so we're down 3 recruits. So, we're down to, from 14, we're down to 11. Now, on the one hand, they get to concentrate on other recruits, not just Des, Tara, and Angela. They can now concentrate on the other recruits, which is good. But at the same time, it sucks that they all left, and 2 of them left in a huff. Tara was personally wounded because they're making her carry a heavy bag because it's too big for her. I mean, like I said, they have standards. I'm not sure. I mean, yes, it does suck that someone like Des, who can easily carry this pack, is at it's the same weight as for Tara, who it's much harder. But they have to have standards. They can't just lighten it for her because everyone has to carry the same amount of gear. So it sucks that it's easier for Des to carry it than it is for her. But at the same time, you have to do it. So, I mean, JoJo is hardly a really, really tall girl. She isn't hardly a big girl. She's carrying it. Angela was carrying it. I mean, I'm sure that had something to do with her knees hurting, but she could do it. She was doing it. So, next week, let's see if we have a episode description, because lately they've been not good about doing episode descriptions. No, they don't have episode 3. But apparently they're going to be doing a header into the water. But not from a helicopter like they had in the first season. So apparently some of them, based on DS's reaction, some of them it looks like are going to have issues sticking the landing. I'm expecting I don't know if they're going forwards or backwards, so I'm expecting belly flops because that was just based on the reaction from DS. Let's see if there's anything else. we don't seem to have any other problem children. I mean, Robert seemed to be like, he seemed to be questioning as well whether he should quit, because Des already wanted to quit. Like Jovan said, quitters will find a reason to quit. So it's possible that Des already wanted to. So this was just his moment to do that. But Robert also seems like, he talks about his father in the past tense. So he did say he has dementia. But then he also talks about him in past tense. So I wonder if he's that far gone, that he might as well be dead. And if you've dealt with anyone with Alzheimer's or any form of dementia, it is much harder on the people, on their loved ones, than it is on them. They have no clue. They're living in their own world, so they're fine if they're that far gone. At the beginning, it's also a problem for them. So it's possible that his father is just that far gone. So it sounded like, even though he said he's doing this for his dad, at the same time you got that inkling, is he gonna quit? But no, he seems to be toughing it out. I'm not seeing anyone who I suspect is going to quit. Tom is just weird. He keeps saying how he wants to be punished, how he wants to bring honor back to the Sandoval name. I read from Tyler Cameron that all he could talk about was that Rachel or Raquel or whatever her name is, that he did the cheating with. So, what honor are you talking about? You're still with the woman you cheated on? Or I don't know, what is the status of his relationship? Because it's just bizarre that he talks about wanting to redeem himself, but he's with the woman that he cheated with. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean he's divorced and he's now with her, or he's continuing his affair? I do not know. Part of me doesn't want to know, really, but I don't know. Let's see. I was actually rooting for Nick against, I think he was going against Tom? I was actually rooting for Nick. Not because I'm a fan of his or anything, but I found out he's from Wisconsin, so yeah, I'm rooting for Nick now. I believe I covered everything, and I can't think of what else to ramble on about. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.